Have you ever had the feeling that the days are getting shorter, that the weeks pass by in the blink of an eye, and that we barely start a year before we're back in December again? It seems like we live in a constant flow of urgency, where yesterday dissolves and tomorrow is already rushing toward us. This sensation that time is speeding up is not unique to you. It is, in fact, a profoundly human experience and, in our days, increasingly common. In recent years, many of us have begun to notice a curious phenomenon. Time seems to slip through our fingers faster than ever. Everything around us, from technology to daily commitments, seems to conspire to accelerate the pace, making us feel as though we are constantly trying to reach something unattainable. But why does this happen? Is time really speeding up? Or is it just our perception that is changing? Perhaps the answer lies not only in our hectic routines or the many obligations that surround us, but in something deeper, something that transcends the simple counting of hours on a clock. Let's explore together a different perspective, an approach that integrates the spiritual and the philosophical, to understand what is truly happening when we feel that time suddenly isn't what it used to be. Imagine a sunny morning. You wake up, the day is beginning, and there's a tranquility in the promise of a new start. But before you even realize it, you are drowning in commitments, messages, deadlines. It seems like the sun has barely risen before it is setting again. How can we recapture that first moment of serenity? How can we find a way to stretch time as if we were unrolling a scroll, allowing each word written on it to be truly read and appreciated? Thus, we begin our journey to comprehend this sensation of time acceleration. Let's explore the nature of time in a way that transcends the seconds that mark our clocks and the schedules that shape our days. Time is a curious thing, an entity that we try to define, control, and measure, but that, at its core, slips through our fingers like flowing water. To truly understand it, we need to embark on a philosophical journey, one that leads us to observe time not as a machine of hands, but as a personal experience. Henri Bergson, a French philosopher, spoke about the difference between chronological time and psychological time. Chronological time is that which is marked by the unceasing tick-tock of the clock. It is the time we use to organize our commitments, calculate distances, and count our birthdays. It is objective, regulated, measurable. But there is another time, one that unfolds within us, in the subjectivity of our experiences. This is psychological time. It is not linear, nor does it follow the rigidity of minutes and hours. It expands in moments of intense emotion and contracts in the dull routine of monotonous days. Think about how an afternoon with a good friend seems to fly by in an instant, while a boring meeting feels like it lasts an eternity. Psychological time invites us to feel time, not just to passively live it. However, there is something even deeper, a truth that some say is the key to living fully, the eternal now. This idea suggests that the present is the only tangible reality we have, and that all our life experience occurs in this little point, the now. The past is merely memories, and the future consists of projections yet to be realized. But the present? That is here, it is real, and within it lie all the opportunities, all the beauty of life. When we anchor ourselves in the now, we begin to perceive that time ceases to be a hasty enemy and transforms into an ally. It is no longer a force that pushes and pressures us. Instead, it is a dance, a continuous expression of everything that happens within us and around us. In the stillness of now, we realize that each second has immense depth, that each breath is a universe unto itself. In full presence, time can expand, as if each moment carries a silent eternity. Throughout human history, our perception of time has evolved in surprising and profound ways. If we turn our eyes to ancient cultures, we see that the notion of time was cyclical, a radically different view from that which dominated the modern era. For the Mayans, Egyptians, and many indigenous peoples, time was like a great wheel, where everything was in constant repetition and renewal. The seasons, the cycles of the moon, the patterns of growth and death, everything was seen as part of an infinite dance of rebirth and transformation. In this view, life was more about harmony than haste. Cyclical time meant that events didn't simply pass, instead they returned. With each season, each harvest, each full moon, there was a return and a chance to begin anew. This understanding brought a perspective of serenity, of connection with the rhythms of the earth. No one was racing against the clock, for time was not something to be conquered or defeated. It was a companion, a reflection of the natural rhythms that guided life. However, this perception began to change with the rise of mechanical clocks and the Industrial Revolution. Linear time began to take shape, a continuous line stretching from the past to the future, which should be maximized. The clock, once a tool for guidance, became a symbol of control, marking working hours, machine schedules, and deadlines to be met. It was the birth of a mentality of constant progress, of endless development. We began to believe that the future should always be better than the present, that time was a line we needed to follow at all costs. This new concept in some way disconnected us from nature and our own biological rhythms. Linear time pushed us forward, creating the illusion that we were always late, always lacking. We moved from a peaceful dance with the cosmos to a frantic race toward an unattainable horizon. Modern urgency was established, and with it, the feeling that time is always slipping away, that we need to be faster, more efficient. Isn't it time to rethink this journey? Perhaps there is wisdom in looking back at those cultures that understood time as a cycle, as something that invites us to bloom at its rhythm. Maybe by slowing down, we can once again perceive that time is not a straight line but a circle that expands in infinite layers, inviting us at every moment to be reborn. We live in an era of digital acceleration. Technology, which promised to free us, often transforms into an invisible chain, dragging us through tasks and deadlines at a pace that seems to escape our control. If once time was measured by the movement of the sun, now it is accounted for by notifications that reach us in seconds, by the incessant flow of social media, and by the urgency of accumulating emails. We have become creatures of digital time, of fragmented time, of short and unstable pieces. Each scroll of the screen is a new fragment, a new crumb of information that consumes our attention but rarely nourishes our soul. It's as if we are always connected but never present. We are simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. This digital time opposes biological time, the time of heartbeats, of breathing, of the natural cycles that flow within us without haste. It is this dissonance that makes us feel time run like sand through our fingers. We are living at a pace that is no longer ours. With social media, everything has become instantaneous. An image, a message, a reaction. Everything seems to need to happen now, right now, or it loses value. But at the same time, the faster we try to be, the more disconnected we become from the true flavor of the moment. This acceleration makes us lose sight of the depth of things, turning the present into a faint shadow, obscured by the artificial light of a cell phone screen. And the impact of this goes beyond the psychological. Our constant quest for productivity, our need to do more in less time, disconnects us from our natural rhythms. We live as if the value of our lives lies in doing, producing, accumulating rather than simply being. By becoming productivity machines, we create a sense of continuous urgency, where rest feels like an indulgence and tranquility, a weakness. This race makes us forget that we are cyclical beings, needing pauses, moments of contemplation and integration. However, there is a way out of this cycle of hurry, a return to our own essence. Technology has its role, of course, and can be a powerful tool. But when we allow it to dictate our pace, we begin to lose our humanity. We need, perhaps, to remember how to live in biological time, to respect the cycles of our mind and body, to listen to our own inner rhythm. And perhaps by doing so, we can finally slow down, finding in the present not just a passage to the future but a place of presence and peace. Now, let's dive into an even deeper perspective, where time and consciousness intertwine in a spiritual way. Amid the sensation that days are speeding up, the idea arises that we are undergoing a transformation in the way we perceive time, something that transcends simple linear perception. Here we talk about its spiritual ascension, a concept that invites each of us to see time as multidimensional, not just a straight line, but a rich web of possibilities. When we are on a path of spiritual growth, we begin to perceive that time can expand and contract according to our state of consciousness. Moments of deep meditation, of connection with the divine, show us that time is not as rigid as we believed. It seems that, during a moment of inner silence, a minute can last an eternity, and an hour can feel like just an instant. It's as if, in states of deep alignment, we escape the tyranny of the clock and connect with a broader truth, where time is just one of many possible dimensions. Practices like meditation and mindfulness become fundamental in this context. When we allow ourselves to be fully present, we begin to notice that each instant has immense depth, that it is possible to expand the now to contain all our attention and all our peace. When we meditate, we are not trying to escape time, but rather to immerse ourselves completely in it, realizing that within the now there is no rush, there is no race, only being. Moreover, there is what we call that flow state. The flow state, or flow, is that moment when we are so immersed in an activity, so engaged in what we do, that the notion of time practically disappears. It's as if we become one with the task, as if time ceases to matter, and for a brief moment, there is no separation between us and what lies before us. This is a spiritual experience because, in essence, it is a state of profound connection with our purpose, with our creativity, with the energy that flows through us. In this flow state, we often experience a sense of timelessness. Artists, athletes, and meditators report this feeling. The outside world dissolves, and the only thing that remains is the pure experience of the moment. When we are in flow, we are aligned with our true essence. It is a living proof that time, when viewed from the heart, is much more a subjective and spiritual experience than an objective reality. Time becomes a partner, not a tormentor, and as we connect with this perspective, we discover that the acceleration of modern life loses some of its power, for we become masters of our own time. In our spiritual journey, another fascinating aspect of time emerges: the cycles of cause and effect, or as many spiritual traditions call them, karmic cycles. It is as if, in this moment of acceleration that we all experience, the cycles of action and consequence are also moving at a greater speed. Our thoughts, words, and actions carry weight, an energy that reverberates and returns to us, and it seems that the time between planting the seed and harvesting the fruit, be they flowers or thorns, is shorter than ever. Have you ever noticed how some actions seem to bring their repercussions almost immediately? It can be an act of kindness that generates a positive outcome in the blink of an eye, or perhaps a mistake that seems to pay its price quickly. This is part of what some traditions call the acceleration of karmic cycles. There is a sense of urgency, as if the universe is asking us to learn our lessons more quickly, as if life is offering us more frequent chances to correct our paths and grow spiritually. While this acceleration may seem daunting, it is also a golden opportunity for growth. After all, karma is not punishment, it is a teacher. It shows us precisely the consequences of our choices, helping us become more aware and responsible. In this context, the acceleration of karmic cycles is a call to awaken, to take responsibility for our lives and to transform. And there is something beautiful in this, isn't there? This spiritual urgency forces us to look within, to reflect on our actions, and to understand that every gesture, no matter how small, carries a profound impact. Life is offering us, every day, the chance to act with more love, to practice more compassion, to correct past mistakes, and to create new possibilities. It's as if we are all being invited to shed the weight we carry and to find a way to exist with more lightness and awareness. This moment is, therefore, a great opportunity. We can use it to grow, to transform into better versions of ourselves. We can look at the acceleration of time, of karmic cycles, not as a burden but as a gift. A chance to also accelerate our own evolution, to elevate our spirit, and to find, in the present, a profound peace that transcends the haste of the outer world. When we feel that time is speeding up, we may be tempted to simply react, to go with the flow without questioning. But there is a way to consciously respond to this perception, and that way lies in practices that bring us back to the present moment, to the here and now. Mindfulness is one of the most powerful tools for rebalancing our relationship with time. The practice of mindfulness invites us to live each moment with total presence. Instead of getting lost in thoughts about what has passed or worries about what is to come, mindfulness invites us to fully immerse ourselves in what is happening now. Each inhalation and exhalation becomes an anchor. Each small action becomes an opportunity to reconnect with the present reality. When we allow ourselves to live this way, we realize that time expands. A simple minute can become a rich and meaningful experience, where there is space to notice details, feelings, sensations that we would otherwise overlook. Meditation also plays a fundamental role in this process of rediscovering our natural rhythm. In meditation, when we close our eyes and observe our thoughts, we have the opportunity to let time simply be. It is an experience of timelessness, where time ceases to be a sequence of moments and becomes just a continuous stillness. It's as if the clock stops and we become only pure consciousness, observing the inner world without haste. This experience of timelessness brings us peace, a feeling that we are exactly where we should be, and that there is no need to rush. One practical way to explore this change of perception is to step away, even for a brief period, from the tools that accelerate our lives. I propose an experiment. Take a day to disconnect from technology, a single day without notifications, without emails, without social media. Spend that time in a place you enjoy, perhaps a park or at home, simply feeling the natural rhythm of the day. Observe how your perception of time changes. The simple act of slowing down and disconnecting from the digital pace allows us to once again feel time in a different way, more intimately, more connected to our being. This practice of mindfulness, of connecting with the present experience, is not just a way to alleviate the feeling of time acceleration. It is, in fact, a way to live fully, to give each moment the value it deserves, to recognize that our life is made up of unique instants, and that each of them can be a portal to something much greater. A state of consciousness where time does not control us but guides us with lightness and wisdom. Spiritual perspectives on time offer us a wealth of understanding and a depth that often escapes us in daily life. In traditions like Buddhism, time is seen as an illusion. According to this teaching, our attachment to the past and our anxiety about the future are obstacles that prevent us from attaining enlightenment. Buddhism teaches us that, in fact, the past and the future are projections of the mind, and that the only moment that truly exists is the now. Thus, the practice of being present is not only a tool of tranquility but also a path to awakening. The Sufis, mystics of Islam, also have a very particular view of time. For them, there is a concept called sacred time, where time is not something measured but something lived in alignment with the divine. This notion suggests that when we are in deep harmony with our purpose and with divine love, time gains a new meaning. Life ceases to be a sequence of events and becomes a continuous expression of the sacred, a flow that invites us to live with surrender, authenticity, and, above all, presence. For the Sufis, each moment is an invitation to experience the beauty of connection with the divine, a reminder that, at our essence, we are always in communion with the eternal. Indigenous peoples' traditions also provide a profoundly poetic and practical view of time. Many indigenous cultures understand time in a cyclical way, as a great natural cycle that unfolds, mirroring the patterns of nature. This perspective teaches us to live in harmony with the natural world, respecting the rhythms of the seasons, the movement of the stars, and the cycles of birth and death. For them, there is no straight line toward progress. On the contrary, every ending is a new beginning, each cycle renewing in balance with the earth. This connection with nature allows life to be lived in a calmer way, closer to the rhythms that are natural and healthy for all living beings. These different traditions offer us rich and varied insights, but all converge on one essential point: the value of presence. Whether through the understanding of time as an illusion, the idea of sacred time, or the deep connection with the cycles of nature, all these views encourage us to slow down and reconnect with the essence of life. They remind us that time is not just an impersonal line we must follow, but an experience full of depth and meaning that constantly calls us to live with more intention and soul. Perhaps the true wisdom lies in recognizing that, although our minds are conditioned to think of time in a linear way, we can, through spirituality, reinterpret this perception. By looking at time as something more intimate and integrated with our spirit, we can free ourselves from haste and anxiety, discovering that each moment in its simplicity has the potential to be a meeting with the sacred. There is something powerful and unsettling in the urgency we feel today regarding time. It's as if the feeling that everything is accelerating is, in fact, a call, a summons to seek a greater purpose, to find more meaning in our lives. This urgency doesn't have to be seen as a suffocating pressure. We can understand it as a spiritual motivation, a quiet voice inviting us to question what really matters, and how can we live more authentically and meaningfully? Accelerated time, in its restlessness, can be a precious teacher. It forces us to choose, to prioritize what is truly important, to realize that, in the end, it is not about accumulating more experiences but about living each of them deeply. When we feel that time is slipping away, perhaps it is the perfect moment to reflect on how we are spending our energy, to redirect it toward what truly makes our hearts beat stronger. Instead of getting lost in activities that merely occupy us, we can dedicate ourselves to something that truly resonates with our soul, that brings us fulfillment. Finding this purpose, this greater sense, is an act of meaning-making. When we give meaning to our actions and choose to live according to our deepest values, something magical happens. Our perception of time transforms. A day that might seem ordinary gains unexpected depth, as each moment begins to be lived with a new awareness, a new intention. And in this process, we realize that, although we cannot control the rhythm of the world around us, we can indeed choose how we will dance with it. The creation of meaning helps us expand our perception of time. It is not about making the days longer but about filling them in a way that transcends mere counting of hours. When we are connected to a purpose, whether great or small, each second gains a particular significance, and time ceases to be a resource to be conserved and becomes a gift to be enjoyed. This urgency, then, is not just a modern condition that we must endure. It is, in fact, a spiritual opportunity for us to grow, to live with more purpose, to recognize that the time we have here is precious and finite. We can transform this feeling that time is slipping away into a positive force, a gentle reminder that we should increasingly seek what makes our souls vibrate, what brings us peace and connects us to the essence of life. Living with purpose is living with intention. It is making every action count. It is realizing that every encounter, every conversation, every smile is part of a much greater journey. Even if time seems to race, we can choose to walk hand in hand with it, honoring every step of this extraordinary journey we call life. The integration of science and spirituality offers us a fascinating perspective on time, uniting what we have long considered opposites: rational knowledge and intuitive wisdom. In recent years, modern physics has brought new insights that resonate deeply with ancient spiritual views, creating a bridge between the tangible and the ethereal. Let's consider, for example, the concepts of quantum physics, which invite us to see time and space as interconnected elements, part of a great cosmic tapestry, where the past, present, and future are not exactly separate entities, but different aspects of the same reality. Einstein's theory of relativity tells us that time is relative and depends on the observer's point of view, a concept that echoes the spiritual idea that our perception of time is shaped by our state of consciousness. Thus, in both physics and spirituality, we see that time is not fixed. It is not a river that simply flows in one direction, but something malleable, shaped by energy and consciousness. This understanding allows us to see time as a dimension that, more than binding us, can connect us. The notion of quantum time suggests that past, present, and future coexist, as if everything is intertwined in a mysterious and interconnected dance. This is similar to the spiritual view that all things are connected, that each action has an impact not only on what is to come but on everything that surrounds us. Quantum physics reveals that, at the most fundamental level, everything is connected, an idea that lies at the heart of many spiritual traditions, which teach us about the interdependence of all existence. It's as if modern science is slowly rediscovering what ancient traditions have always known, that the universe is a great living organism, where time and space intertwine with consciousness, and where every particle, every being influences the whole. From this perspective, time ceases to be a line to be followed and becomes a field to be explored, a rich dimension of possibilities that connects us to something greater, something that transcends our immediate understanding. For many scientists and spiritual thinkers, quantum time and the notion of entanglement bring forth an almost magical potential, a potential for transformation and connection that, perhaps, is the key to understanding our own spiritual journey. This interconnectedness reminds us that our life is part of something larger, that our choices not only affect what is to come but resonate throughout the universe. Thus, science and spirituality come together to show us that time is much more than a count. It is an expression of the mystery and beauty of the cosmos, and an invitation to be fully present in each moment, recognizing our deep connection to all that exists. When we look at time in this light, we realize that the acceleration we feel does not have to be a burden. Instead, we can see this moment as an opportunity to connect with the now, to open ourselves to the magic of each instant, and to perceive that we are all navigating together through a quantum ocean of possibilities. Even in a world that seems to be moving at an ever-increasing speed, there is a wisdom we can cultivate, the wisdom to embrace time with presence and purpose. Living consciously does not mean slowing down the world outside, but finding a way to exist within it without losing connection to what is essential. It's about realizing that time is an invitation to become more attentive, more gentle, more awake to the small and grand moments that make up our journey. By choosing to live with presence, we begin to perceive that the true meaning of time lies in the quality of the moments we experience and not in their quantity. Each breath, each sunset, each shared laughter can be a portal to the depth of the now, a portal that opens to reveal the beauty of simply existing. It's as if, by slowing down internally, the world around us becomes more alive, more vibrant, as if each second calls us to recognize the miracle of being here now. Purpose, in turn, gives us a compass to navigate through time. When we live with a clear sense, everything gains a special shine, a greater reason to be. Challenges transform into opportunities, accomplishments cease to be mere numbers and become steps toward something meaningful. Having purpose is not necessarily about having a grand plan for life. It's about choosing each day the intention with which we want to live, the energy we wish to share, the love we want to express. And when we look at time with this loving and present gaze, we realize that it is, in fact, a gentle master. It does not pressure us, does not impose cruel deadlines, but invites us to live in harmony. Instead of getting lost in the speed of days, we can open ourselves to the grandeur of the present, to the vastness that each moment carries, and discover that, despite the world's rush, we can find a place of serenity within ourselves. In each dawn, in each gesture, we can choose to live in a way that respects the preciousness of time. We can transform our perception, find meaning in the simple and the complex, and recognize that time, no matter how mysterious and fleeting it may be, is a gift that allows us to live our journey with wisdom, compassion, and fullness. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. This way, we can continue exploring together these mysteries that help us live with more meaning and awareness. Thank you for being here.